Buongiorno everyone, I'm here in Venezia, Italy. Beautiful, beautiful town, very touristy, very old. Here in, what's it called? Piazza di San Marco, I think, next to Basilica di San Marco. Here today to talk to you about a little topic of how to make religion, and particularly Christianity, a little bit more palatable to the masses, and particularly the youth, the upcoming generation that is coming. I feel like it's a nice little place to talk about it, considering we're right here in front of, I believe it is the biggest church in Venice. It's not the biggest, I think it's the most well-known, definitely the most touristy. There's like three ways that I would say, just like three things that I would say is super helpful with that. If you were trying to, let's say, if you're a religious person and you were trying to make it more applicable. And it's something that I notice too when I hear people with pretty sound arguments. They talk about their argument, they say this is how society works, this is how it should work, whatever. These are the reasons, and then they drop the G-bomb, they drop God, they just drop God in there. So number one is stop saying God in like every single argument. Like if you want to win an argument, you have to do it in the environment of the other person. You can't just win it just by staying in your court. You can't win a war by staying in your house. In the same way, you have to be able, if you're having an argument, you got to be able to argue all sorts of different points in all sorts of different situations, and that's kind of how you win. And so I'll hear, a solid argument about something like, well, so, society is based on, you need people to raise kids because society is based on people, and people. This better arguments than me, but basically society is made up of humans, and you need two people to make humans. And I hear the whole marriage argument, like two, man and a woman, you reproduce. It's like, yes, you need that, right? And so they're against the whole homosexual thing, which is, do whatever you want. Their argument is they drop the God bomb, and to me it just absolutely destroys, especially for the younger, more tolerant audience, absolutely destroys the logic, or it destroys the argument for that side. It destroys it. So that's number one, is just stop saying God for everything. Like, God said this, God said that's, like, okay, fine. Well, this leads me actually into my second point, which is start taking responsibility for things. Not that you're not, but when you write things off and you say, oh well, I did well, super well on a test because God willed it that way, or I did terrible on that test. Well, God did this. Like, obviously there are things in your control and in your power that you're responsible for that you can turn, and there are also things that you're not responsible for and that you can't necessarily control. And in which case, if you want to submit those to the God office. Oh, you're fine, no worries. You're good. You're fine. You're actually in the shot now. That's fine. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to submit that to the God argument, you say that I'm not responsible for this. Like, okay, well, that's God. I think that's fine, but also keep that out of your actual physical argument, because it doesn't make sense to do that, especially if you're in an argument where when the other side is on more of a rational side, they're taking logic and facts and things. You can't just throw in a massive amorphous concept that doesn't apply to the other person in the argument, or maybe they don't even know about it. Oh, you don't understand the will of God. Look, maybe they don't, but that's why you have to argue with them on their level. And the last one is using rationale. These all kind of fit together. Use rationality instead of faith as an argument. There are positive things about all religions, obviously, and there are positive things about Christianity too. But if you're just going to sit there and just say, well, because God said so, it's like it's not an argument, and it's going to lose lots and lots of people, especially the young people. They're not into that. The young people want to kind of carve their own way, figure out how to get where they want to go their way. And the whole God thing makes sense in a world that was a lot more difficult than ours, one where you just needed to cling to something. And say the Catholic religion, at least I believe in Italy, that was the primary one, and it still is the primary one here. Easy to cling on to and necessary in a way, because things were so hard. And we're in a place now where things are a little bit easier and people can make those decisions, and not necessarily everything that in one doctrine it says is true. For example, like the Ten Commandments, like obviously you don't want to kill people. You can explain very easily, logically and rationally why you should not kill people. Thou shalt not kill. It's like, is the reason because God said so, which, okay, fine, or is it because if I kill someone, then that person, whoever their family, might want to kill me, and that creates civil unrest in a society, and that's ultimately, you know, detrimental to me raising my family and me raising my kids in that society, which, yeah, just, I mean, yeah, so the 3 points, basically, stop using God in like every sentence and every argument. It's just, you can't use that with people who don't agree with that. You got to win the arguments in their court. The other one is, you know, take responsibility and stop outsourcing everything to God. Oh, well, God will this, God will that. I'm not saying all people do it, okay? That's not what I'm getting at here. But I hear it a lot, and it just, because I really want to. I want to be on that side rationally, but I can't, because there's this weird line of like, oh, well, if you're not in the faith, then you don't believe it. And again, that's not everyone either. But the last one is rationality. Use rationality and reason and logic for why those central tenets of like why God said these things. You know, why did He say these things, or she, or whatever you believe, to get the desired result. It's like, obviously there's a reason, and it's so that people can live in a better place. And then all you have to do from there is explain why. And if you do this and you bring this into politics, this is going to work a lot better in your favor. And the only reason I bring this up is just I'm tired of, in my country, they're very polarized things. There's like, let's challenge the essential tenets of society, and the other one is like, let's maintain them and keep them restricted and not change them at all. It's like, both of those suck, man. Let's find the way in the middle. Like, and I do think that people who are extremely religious have a lot of good things to offer. In many cases, at least, you know, nice people that I've met, for the most part, with obvious exceptions. But yeah, so I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's a lot to ask. But anyway, this is probably the most political I ever want to get. But there's easy ways to rationalize this and make this more palatable for young people. And if you want to win them over, you know, sell things like rational, responsible action for the betterment of society, you know, instead of just, well, because God said so, man. Like, that destroys arguments, in my opinion. Anyway, with that said, I'm peacing out of here, off to Santorini next, and I'll see you guys next time.